feeding on. They're feeding on despair, of unemployment, the fear of losing your home, the fear of all the other factors. And therefore you feel sometimes that when we go out to campaign and say don't vote BNP, we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back. Because we're talking about undercutting them ideologically, and they're fighting for votes. And therefore we have to come back to this, I believe, and say the following two things. Of course, we don't have to have an electoral alternative to BNP. We stopped them in the 70s and the 90s, and we didn't have electoral alternatives at that point. But we are fighting with one hand behind our back, and we need a left alternative to the BNP. I think if they're feeding off despair and fear, we have to try and win people to the idea of hope and possibilities. And they can only do that if they start to offer a positive political agenda to people instead of the ideas of politics as division, the ideas of unity and fighting for decent things for all. And I want to also say this, but when you have despair, when people fight back, when you see strikes, when you see campaigns against race, when you see campaigns against Islamophobia, when you see campaigns for decent housing, that also is a sword, because what it does is it turns around to those people thinking about voting BNP saying, don't blame your Asian neighbour, don't blame your black neighbour, don't blame your Polish neighbour for your problems. Your problem's got to do with a greedy boss, a greedy government, a greedy council that doesn't want to spend money on you, wants to spend it on the rich, and they blame them and don't blame the poor and the oppressed, because that's what we have to start to put that message across. And the last thing is this, I'm tired of the fascists. I'm tired of marching against them. I'm bloody 45 years old now, or something ridiculous like that now. In the 1970s I marched against the National Front. In the 1990s I organised against the BNP when they won their first seat, and I'm organising against them today. It seems to me that the fascism and the BNP are not some aberration of the system, they are a product of capitalism in crisis. And therefore, if they're a problem of capitalism in crisis, let's not just get rid of the symptom, let's get rid of the disease as well, which is capitalism. And we have to also talk about, yes, standing up to the BNP, yes, countering them, but also we need to fight for a different world where the BNP cannot grow, a world of socialism, of tolerance, of solidarity, of humanity, and of social distribution of wealth. And that has to be part of our vision too. Discussion. I thought it was really interesting, and I think a couple of questions posed, very, very serious questions related to fascism, which I'm going to at least try and put my views forward on. First of all, the social dynamics of the British National Party, where they win or where they do well. You see, I think it's just worth exposing a couple of the myths. One, it is not true that the BNP do well in areas where there's high mix of multiracial areas. It's just not true. They actually do better in areas of lower density of black and Asian and migrant workers. That's a fact. The pen calls it the halo effect. It's the fear of what's coming. It's the fear of migration. It's the fear of ethnic minorities, as opposed to the actual reality of living together in multiracial cities that they win on. And I think we have to keep coming back to that, because what you get from the kind of mainstream is, if we have too many black people and Asian people coming, that actually will create racism. Actually, it's the other way round. More black people and Asian people come here, the less racism there is, and therefore we want more our cities opened up to more black and Asian people. If you look at the survey review company, it's a very important survey. I think somewhere the SWP's got to start pulling it out and really developing it. It really shows you that the BNP voters are really just paranoid about everything. Everything. They are reactionary on every single thing. And you read down everything, obviously from race you expect, but also the fear, this is not enough little shops, too many, not enough big shops in their area. It's true. Too much. They're just a really bunch of reactionary bastards, quite frankly. And therefore we have to just understand that. And it's actually comes out of a fear that they're losing sight of the world that they live in, which is classically what fascism is. It's the middle class is going completely petty bourgeois, going mad. And this is what they're like. So on all questions, they are completely irrational on. And therefore we have to kind of understand that is the dynamic. It's also important to say that actually they win a third of their seats from Lib Dems and Tories. It's not just straight out of Labour heartlands. I think we have to come back to that as well. And if you look at BNP propaganda, it is tailored for different areas. So it goes in very hard racist stuff in the city areas, but I tell you what, when you go into the shires, when you go to they publish themselves as Greens, environmentalists, doctor friendly, there's stuff around North Yorkshire, very, very age-centred, quite middle class and business type of people. So I just wanted to say that. Secondly, Paul Humber's point, we have to expose them as Nazis, absolutely. Every time we see them, we have to call them fascists and Nazis. Why? because they don't like being called fascists and Nazis. Actually, be good enough reason for anybody to call it to them. But why, more importantly than that, is because actually people understand what fascism and Nazis are. I'm not saying everybody does, but actually most people have some idea that fascism is about, and why is it? And that is precisely that many people vote BNP do it with shamefaced. Because they understand it's not just protest, it's protest into a really reactionary argument. We have to win that argument with people. But I tell you, it's more complicated and difficult now. And we have to be honest about that. You see, in 1993, I appeared on TV in Poplar in the market there, and I was live on TV and I said, Derek Beacon is a Nazi. And this reporter said to me, well, I don't think you can just say things like that on TV. You know, there's no evidence of that. I said, no, I'm sorry, Derek Beacon is a Nazi. As I said that, the local fire station, the doors opened and the fire engine came out with firefighters against the Nazis banner tied to the fire. That was brilliant. Derek Beacon, these BNP folks see this, and their reaction was to start Z-guiding at it. You see this on YouTube, they pan the camera away from me, and I'm going, I think they are Nazis, aren't they? Let's be honest about it, it's not true that everyone here agrees with this position. We've had people argue at this event that they're not Nazis. So if people are saying that at this event, I thought this was one from the Socialist Party today said that they were Nazis. We have a big problem, because it means that people are accepting the lies of the BNP. And this is one of the problems you have with the BNP. You say you're against the Holocaust, they say no, I'm not. Behind the scenes they say yes, we are. It's a very, no, this is not arguable jelly. And therefore, if we accept them, it's very, very, it's a disaster. So I want to say that. And therefore, the Euro-Nazi strategy is harder to nail it. But I tell you what, if we give up on it, if we give up on this, they will come back. And the time they come back, and the time we realise they're Nazis, the Pastor Niemöller poem will be true. First they came to Jews, I did nothing. When they came to Thomas, I did nothing. When they came to traitors, and by the time they come to you, no one left. So let's not make the same mistake in history. You cannot believe what they say. You have to believe them by their actions, their deeds, and what they say in their private meetings. And let me just tell you one thing we've done with our team, Unite Against Fashion and Love Music. We got a young woman who turned around to us and said that she was a member of BNP and she wanted to leave. And we asked her to do one thing for us. We asked her to go back to a BNP meeting and be secretly filmed. She went to a meeting with Nick Griffin. Nick Griffin said nothing racially offensive. He said lots of things are offensive, but nothing racially offensive in that meeting. She went downstairs, she met the white organiser of BNP, and he said to her, don't worry about it. This is on camera. Don't worry about that. That's just flannel. He goes, we believe really in the BNP, we have to have a final solution, the Holocaust. So they say one thing to the public and another to their members. Don't forget it. Don't ever forget it, because if you do, you will pay dearly for doing such a thing. Let me talk about something else, no platform. You see, I believe absolutely everything. You see, the BNP don't have a point of view. They have a point of prejudice. And there's a difference between a point of view and a point of prejudice. But they follow their point of view with their point of prejudice with violence. So where the BNP go, there is violence. And the trouble with that is if you accept the idea of freedom of speech, their freedom of speech denies everybody else's freedom of speech. And you can't have given someone freedom of speech who takes it away from everybody else. And therefore, they are different from every other political type of organisation. You should allow Tories, Liberals, anarchists, people with no political views to speak, because when they speak, they have an argument, they have a debate. With the BNP, it's not a debate. It's just a point of them to use their voice to smash your point of view, and therefore you're arguing with something that is incredibly dangerous. And therefore we try and fight for, as hard as we can, a position where in our student groups, in trade unions, we say they are not welcome on our platform, because when you come, you bring division and you bring violence. Very, very simple. We have to argue that and try and win that argument back again. But there is a problem, and we have to be honest about it, and I thought Kate was very, very honest. They are getting, because of the so-called legitimate argument, they've now got political legitimacy, they now turn around and just say, well, they've now got 6.8% of the vote, they're entitled to go on our TV screens. I ask them, well, what percentage point is your point of view legitimate? Is it, if you get 6.8%, is your right to say the Holocaust was nothing to worry about? Is that legitimate? Was it, if they got 6.7%, that wouldn't have been enough? This is rubbish. This is rubbish. It's not about a legitimate point of view, it's about a very, very dangerous point of view. And therefore, we have to come back to the question of a TV and radio. What do we do? Well, the first thing I think we have to do is we have to fight and relaunch the argument of no platform for them on our TV and radio programmes. We are losing that in many places. I don't know if Raymond spoke about it, but last time, I've turned up to 2 TV studios in the last 2 weeks, and I think Bailey's done 3, at least 3. We've turned up there, and Nick Griffin and Brons has been there.